And finally, new rule, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Finally, Bill Maher looked straight at his audience and dropped what he called his new rule. Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg being pulled from The View after she went after him on air was some kind of karmic payback. That word, karma, drives him crazy. He said plainly, it doesn't exist. Life isn't fair, it isn't balanced, and it certainly isn't some grand cosmic scoreboard. Things happen randomly, often without reason. The only thing you can really say when a big game hunter is crushed by an elephant and then devoured by lions isn't that it's karma, it's that it's absurdly funny. The spark that led to all this was Whoopi Goldberg tossing a casual jab at Maher during one of her many exchanges on The View. It wasn't a long rant, just a sharp remark she likely assumed would fade into the mix of chatter that defines the program. But the words were pointed, mocking Maher in a way that hit a nerve. She took a swipe at his career, calling him irrelevant, implying that unlike others in media, he could never reach the kind of prominence that figures like Tucker Carlson had reached. In her view, Maher was destined to remain a voice in the cheap seats, a guy good for sarcastic shots, but never capable of standing alone at the center of the stage.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space he goes to.
That's the mistake. Taking a swing at Maher, no matter how small, means inviting a response. He has built his career on refusing to stay silent when attacked, and the idea that Whoopi could dismiss him without consequence was wishful thinking. As Maher pointed out in his monologue, The View is aptly named. It's about one singular perspective, not facts, not balance, and not serious debate. It is a stage where dissent isn't debated, it's smothered.
Thing has to be for everybody.
Right.
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do a cancellation.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America. There is
clearly
one view.
Right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the...
So the jab turned into something larger. What began as a throwaway insult transformed into an unexpected back and forth, a sequence that pulled the curtain back on a deeper clash between Maher's philosophy and The View's entire structure. And here's where things got more explosive. Almost immediately after Goldberg's comments aired, she was suddenly absent from the show. That timing set off a frenzy online. Social media lit up with cries of karma, with people gleefully pointing to her earlier insult and insisting the universe had delivered justice. But Maher wasn't buying it.
Talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before. Sure. So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But
he told his audience that same week he wasn't reveling in karma because karma doesn't exist. Life is random. Goldberg wasn't yanked because some mystical energy force decided to balance things out. As Maher said, sometimes life plays out in ways that feel ironic, but irony isn't destiny. He compared it again to hunters being crushed by their prey, not fate, just a hilarious absurdity. What really irked him wasn't the timing, it was that Goldberg had made attacking him a routine practice, spitting out what he called nonsense with regularity, and this time she got caught in the storm herself.
In the form of Whoopi Goldberg's chastisement. So I thought this would be a good time for a little tutorial on karma, which, as Americans understand it, is nothing more than an extension of the common logical fallacy called post hoc ergo propter hoc. I mentioned this karma stuff on the show last week because I was relating how many texts and emails I got from people congratulating me on receiving a karmagram from the universe.
The real demolition came when Maher turned his attention not to Whoopi specifically, but to The View as a whole. From afar, he tore into the show's foundation. He reminded people that this wasn't the first time the program had stumbled. It was notorious for having to issue on-air corrections, legal disclaimers meant to backpedal after sloppy or misleading commentary. And recently, the tally had hit 4 separate legal notes, each one essentially admitting the panel had misspoken. Only 3 were caught live on air, but the number itself was damning. This wasn't just a one-off mistake. It had become part of the brand.
Hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this. Let's imagine what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
While the fallout from Maher's remarks was still rippling, another voice entered the arena, Megyn Kelly. She didn't need to step onto the set or face the panel directly. From her own platform, she delivered a sharp critique that cut just as deep, if not deeper, than Maher's. Her approach was icy, methodical, and precise. Kelly called The View what many had long suspected it was, a highly produced performance piece masquerading as a talk show. She accused the hosts of running through scripted outrage, bouncing one-liners off each other instead of engaging in any real debate. Her point was simple but devastating. One host speaks, the others nod, and the instant a guest dares to push back with a different angle, the conversation gets shut down. No honest discussion, no back and forth. Just a synchronized display of anger that looks more like theater than television journalism. Kelly wasn't screaming. She wasn't being theatrical herself. She was dissecting, laying bare the mechanics of the show in a way that left little room for defense. The moment she said it, the silence from The View was telling. No fiery rebuttal, no counterattack, not even a dismissive retort. For once, the table said nothing. And that silence spoke louder than any comeback could have. Kelly had called the show out as an echo chamber, a loop of virtue signaling where empowerment is only celebrated as long as everyone agrees. The second disagreement enters the room, it flips, turning toxic. Shutting down dissent rather than allowing it space. The next flashpoint came with the infamous red hat Trump's "Make America Great Again" cap. On The View, the sight of that hat was treated as a declaration of allegiance to everything Trump represented. One host even claimed that wearing it was equivalent to slapping a swastika on your head.
By the way, out there, that hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that.
Because we see it anyway.
That statement, in particular, crossed a line for Maher. He responded firmly. He reminded viewers that while he has never defended Donald Trump, and never will, he refuses to demonize every single one of Trump's supporters. That hat, to many, doesn't equal hatred. And to label half the country with such a vile symbol is not only inaccurate, it's dangerous. Maher said plainly, you can despise Trump, but you can't hate half the nation. To normalize that kind of blanket hatred is to fracture America beyond repair. The fact that even voicing such a stance is treated as controversial shows exactly how warped the climate has become. Disagreeing with the dominant view isn't seen as part of the conversation anymore. It's treated as heresy.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree?
Then came the comparison that left many stunned. On The View, January 6th was compared to some of the darkest chapters in American and world history: slavery, World War II, even the Holocaust. Sunny Hostin declared it one of the worst moments in American history, putting it side by side with atrocities of unimaginable scale. Kelly seized on that, calling it absurd hyperbole. She said it exposed how shallow their preparation was, how quickly they reached for overblown comparisons instead of making thoughtful arguments.
Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them. As we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of
January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust.
What Kelly and Maher agreed on, each in their own way, was that The View had drifted far from being a space of debate. It wasn't dialogue anymore. It had become what Maher called synchronized indignation, everyone on cue, erupting together in outrage, performing for the cameras. And when someone dared to poke through the script, suddenly it was time for a commercial break, or a cooking demo, or a shift to fluff. Anything to avoid letting real debate unfold.
I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill Maher, who has been the standard bearer for liberalism and in many ways leftism until the woke went bananas in this last decade, but for decades, that's what this guy has represented in America. I want you to note the tone they all talk with him. I want you to look at Sunny Hostin's body language and the way they look at him and everything else. Just because he is a lefty who hasn't gone completely bananas, here they are.
Together, Maher's mocking critique and Kelly's methodical dissection left the show exposed in a way it hadn't been before. What started as a casual jab at Maher spiraled into a spotlight on The View's flaws, a spotlight the panel couldn't simply laugh off or ignore. And the silence that followed was perhaps the loudest moment of all.